Man, another tough outing for the Auburn Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Man, Auburn loses another one. They lose another one. Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Dapping it up with Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us. Auburn loses another one, Darrell, 88-75 at the hands of the Arkansas Razorbacks, in a team where Auburn was down their best scorer. You know, we all have differing opinions on that we will get to. Really solid scoring night from Dahad Pettiford and Keshan Murphy, but that was it. Elijah Freeman got to 9. Took him 10 shots to get there, and they had some life late. Cut it within 8, I believe, down the stretch. But at any time they had any sort of momentum, Arkansas just answered, Darrell, and that's the story of this one.
Yeah, you know, the first half, talking at halftime on the Barncast, we were talking about how just 2 guys scoring for Auburn wasn't going to get it done. And Murphy and Pettiford were carrying the load. You're not going to beat a team like Arkansas on the road that limited. Some guys did come to life a little bit more in the second half, like you mentioned, Freeman. Look, it's the totality of this is where we're at right now. Big picture, okay? I don't think anybody saw this game as a win even after Auburn beat Texas and had won 5 of 6. I think, you know, we do that exercise where we go 5 in a row, and after beating Arkansas in Neville, it was going to be tough to sweep a good basketball team on the road. So from a positive aspect, this team played hard, didn't quit, battled back, was completely undermanned and overmatched. They're playing with a short bench as it is, and then you're down Keshan Hall as well. So, you know, what do you expect? If you expected to go into this game and beat Arkansas on their home floor without your best score, it just wasn't being very realistic. You have to look at other aspects and look at big picture. How hard did they play? Did they quit? Now, look, this schedule gets easier and more manageable. It's brutal that Auburn's lost, 5 in a row now?
It's 4, I believe.
4 in a row. Okay. So that's
Tennessee, Bama, Vandy, Arkansas.
Right. So it's not, this is not ideal. This is not good. You kind of thought you could get 2 of the 4 there. And if you get 2 of the 4 in that stretch, you're talking about a completely different feeling and vibe of this season. What are you going to do? You're going to tuck tail, cry, complain, you know, bail on this team? Fine. If you want to do that, that's your option. I think what you need to do is take away from this and say, okay, it's time to have a reset on the season. It's time to recalibrate. This schedule gets more manageable. Did you get Keshan Hall's attention enough to where he buys in, plays harder, becomes a more focused, better version? If you do, you're fine. I mean, you can still win 3 or 4 more SEC games. If you do that, I think you're in the tournament, and then see what happens. But, I mean, I get it. It's frustrating losing 4 in a row. But this was going to be one of those games, Zach, that you were going to be it's going to be difficult to win anyway, full strength, right? And it's even made more difficult with Keshan Hall. And then, look, can we be honest and be real about this? Who are you going to beat on any given night on their home floor when they shoot 60% from the field? I mean, Arkansas shot it at a really, really high field goal percentage. Is that a byproduct of Auburn, again, not playing well defensively? Or is it just a example of tip your cap, guys made shots? You're not going to beat people when they make 8 or 9 more field goals than you on most nights.
That's true. That's true. I think there's a lot of conflicting ideas happening here. And I think there's a lot of things that aren't going well. I don't think it's just one thing. And I think it's human nature to point to one thing. Has Stephen Pearl done an incredible job creating mismatches and using guys efficiently? Like, I don't think he's been consistent with that at all. I also think, like, when you look at, okay, who could be that third scorer tonight on a night where you have Tahad Pettiford and Keyshawn Murphy keeping you in the game without Keshan Hall, and you look at Overton, and I think he went like 1 of 12, 1 of 13, got it right here, 1 of 13. Like, that's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you said early on, like, he's going to be the engine that makes this thing go. And like, I think tonight furthers that point. I also think there's this element of like, this roster is severely limited. And I think there's a good chunk of Auburn fans that want to put that on Steven. And there's a good chunk of Auburn fans that are willing to excuse that on Steven. To be honest, it doesn't matter. But I do think we all agree that this roster is severely limited, especially when you take Keshan Hall out of it. I also think there's a good chunk of people saying both sides of, okay, Auburn is not a tournament team and they are a tournament team. And the metrics say that they are still. The metrics did not expect them to win this game. And when you look ahead to their schedule, we'll do the rest of it in a second, but they should be favored at Mississippi State when they go there on Wednesday. Probably won't be favored when they host Kentucky, when they go to Oklahoma, when they host Ole Miss, when they host LSU, and then obviously when they go to Alabama, they probably won't be. But for 4 of the remaining 6, like, the analytics say that Auburn should win those games. And so if you go 3-3, like, you can say what you want about the state of this team, but that probably does get them into the tournament. You can not like it. You can say that that's too low. And I'm with you. Like, I think Auburn basketball should be at a point where their record should be more than what it will be at the end of this year. I'm not arguing against that, but there's a lot of conflicting things happening here. There was one more. It was how he handled the Keshan Hall thing. Whatever. If you want to say, like, yeah, he should have played, he's a senior, you need him, you're not teaching him anything, that's fine. Whatever. I get it. I also get, the argument for doing it. There's a lot of, like, this is a complex situation and none of it's good, Darrell. None of it. And it's not all on one dude. It's not all on one player. The whole situation just kind of sucks.
Well, I think there's a lot there to unpack.
There's
think
like
first of all,
6 different things at play here.
Yeah. At your first point to me is so very crucial that I think we all knew at the beginning of the year, or we thought we knew what we were going to get from Keshan Hall, what you're going to get from Pettiford. I've said all along the key to this team was finding that third dude. And if you go back and you look at games that Auburn wins, and let's not sugarcoat it, Auburn's got 3 really, really good wins on its resume. They beat Florida at Florida, who's the best team in the SEC. They boat raced this same Arkansas team in Neville, and they beat St. John's on a neutral court, who I think's won 9 in a row. Okay. So they're capable of winning big games. If you go back and look, I think it's not a coincidence that Overton or somebody else stepped up and had a big game as a secondary scoring, whether it's Freeman. Jovic played out of his mind against Arkansas and Neville. Remember, that was kind of his coming out party. There has got to be that third dude. And when that third dude emerges and gets into 16, 18, 20 points, Auburn typically wins. There's no way. I've watched too much basketball. People can comment, can scoff at this all they want. I don't care. I'm still going to sleep 8 hours tonight when my head hits the pillow. I've watched too much basketball over the years and too much Auburn basketball to not think that this team isn't capable of going 4-2 down the stretch with that schedule. They can. They did it earlier in the year when people wrote them off after getting boat raced by Michigan, Arizona, and Purdue. They came back after starting 0-2 in the conference, and they won some games. They can go 4-2 down the stretch. That is not pie in the sky at all. It's very doable.
What do you think they'll go?
4-2. I think
they'll
win
4-2.
I think they'll win 4 of their last 6. I think they'll
got them going 3-3, which I still think
gets them to. I've always said I think they got to get to 9 wins in the conference and be 500 in the SEC. But I agree with you that even if they get to 8, I think they get in the tournament, and all the metrics and all the rankings and all the projections have that because of the resume of those 3 really, really good wins and because of that schedule that they played. So all that to say, this team was never, in my opinion, I thought their ceiling was a Sweet 16. I did. I said that at the beginning of the year. I thought that was their ceiling. If everything clicked, and Hall and Pettiford and the newbies came on and went off, and Magwood made a difference, and Bashir was able to play and not have a bum shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And they misevaluated some people. They had some misevals on some guys that might have thought they could have contributed. If that happened, and that's a big if I thought Magwood contributed and Bashir and Walker, if those guys came off the bench and then you had your guys that you knew were going to contribute, I thought Auburn was a Sweet 16 basketball team. If that didn't happen, I thought they were a bubble team. And I think the truth might lie somewhere in between. This team, if they go 4-2 down the stretch, I don't care what they do in the SEC tournament. We've said it before. I think that fate is sealed before you get in it. If this team goes 4-2 down the stretch, I think they're 7 or 8 seed. And what did you expect when the whole roster got flipped and got turned over and you lose your legendary coach?
No, I mean, I think that's about what we all expected
3 months before the
going
season
into
starts.
it. So, yeah, I mean, just sucks seeing this team get its teeth kicked in, 4 games in a row. And 2 of them, like, you really had a shot to win it. You just didn't execute. Bama and Vandy, both at home. I thought those were both winnable. And I mean, Bama had
those are the ones that sting.
Right?
Those are the ones that
fell
sting.
apart.
I concede the Tennessee and Arkansas games, and I get it. The Tennessee game was probably. I mean, Auburn couldn't get over the hump when they got it to 4, but the Alabama game was winnable, and you were up 10, and you should have won. And the way Alabama shot the basketball late, some of the stupid things Auburn did, not switching, perimeter defense was awful. That one hurts, and the Vanderbilt one hurts. You've got to hold court at home. If you win those 2 games, you're at 7-5 right now, right? In the SEC, and you're probably looking at 10 wins minimum in the SEC and maybe a 6 seed. So, ifs and buts, I get it, but they didn't get blown out tonight, and they very well could have. I mean, it felt like it at some point when it got out of hand. But
you wouldn't classify this as getting blown out.
I really wouldn't. No,
man, it felt so much worse than 13.
It did, but it was because of the way Arkansas shot the ball. I mean, with 4 or 5 minutes left, didn't Auburn get it to single digits?
Yeah, well, that was probably like 8-ish minutes left. Got down to 8.
And again, the way Arkansas shot the basketball, and you really only had 2 guys scoring for you in the first half, and you lose 13 in Fayetteville, which to me is probably one of the top 3 toughest places to win in the SEC. It really is. Rupp is up there. Neville was. It's not this year. Just being honest, it's not. So, all in all, I've seen some really good Auburn basketball teams go into Fayetteville and get thumped 18. This team gets beat 13 without its leading scorer, basically paying a bench of 7. I'm not into moral victories. I'm not. I don't give a crap. Like I've told you many times before, this is an upwards basketball. Yeah. But I also look at the totality, the big picture, and the big picture is this loss isn't is devastating. I mean, the team that was number 1 in the country with Jabari and Kessler, didn't they get beat double digits in Fayetteville?
I don't know if it was double digits, but I do have the vivid memory of Musselman,
Yeah, and what happened at the end with the dunk at the end and all that. So,
yeah, just brutal. So, all right, what do we expect moving forward? You guys drop your comments. What is Auburn's record the rest of the way? So a lot of 0-6s. I don't think they'll go 0-6. We'll jump into that next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Hiring is not just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is absolutely the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed can kind of use their algorithm and match what you're looking for with people's skills and what they are looking for as well. Listeners of this show can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. You want to go to Todd Pettiford here or Keshan Murphy, Darrell?
I want to go Murphy because I think Pettiford, had to, without Keshan on the floor, was going to get more shots. You kind of expected that.
Sure.
Keshan Murphy was a really pleasant surprise with what he
did. 22 points, 9 of 16. He's really what kept Auburn in it in the first half. So we put that same passion in every model. Highlights make the real. What it takes to get there is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. A lot of folks saying 2-4, 3-3, some 0-6s. I'm going 3-3 down the stretch here, Darrell. And I'll, at Mississippi State, we host Kentucky. At Oklahoma, we host Ole Miss. We host LSU. We go to Bama. I'll say we lose to Kentucky and Bama, and then one of these other teams gets us either at Starkville on Wednesday, or I'll say even going to Oklahoma on Tuesday. I mean, they snuck up on Vandy a few weeks ago. So, I think we'll lose to one of these teams we're not supposed to. And I think we'll take down the other three.
I can see us winning one of the games we're not supposed to. Maybe Kentucky, maybe at Alabama. So. I mean, I get it. Alabama beat Auburn and Neville, but they're not infallible at Coleman. They've lost some games there. They're hot right now, but they went through a streak as well. I also do, thanks for the people in the comments that clarified that it felt like Auburn got beat double digits that time in Arkansas, but it was a loss in overtime. I don't remember what the score was, but it just felt like it was worse than it was, I guess, because of how it ended. So thanks for clarifying that. But yeah, I mean, again, there's been other teams though that have gone in there that have been really good, that have gotten blown out. It's a tough place to win. I'm going to say 4-2. I don't know how that configures. I don't know what combination thereof. I just think in this last 6, Auburn's going to find a way to get 4 of them. And I think hopefully bigger picture is that Keshan Hall's a part of it. He's more focused. He's more dialed in, and he recalibrates.
Yep. I think that would be great. So obviously they return to action this Wednesday. They go to Starkville. 8:00 tip, baby. 8:00 tip on a Wednesday. What we all want and love. Goodness gracious. Brief speculation on the Keshan Hall situation. Of these final 6, does your record change if he plays all of them versus if he doesn't play all of them? What's the win-loss difference? One game?
I'm gonna preface this by saying it depends on how he reacts to this. If he doesn't react properly, then it could become more of a problem with him in the lineup.
He just won't play, right?
That's what would happen. Hopefully, if you reinstate him and he doesn't change or doesn't learn from what happened or whatever it is that Stephen wants to see on how his response is, and it becomes a detriment to the team, then it could go south in a hurry. And then at that point, you just have to sit him, and it has to be addition by subtraction. If he responds to this in the right way, there's no reason why this team can't go 4-2 down the stretch. But it depends on how he responds. And I think you've said the key. They're going to watch to see how he responds. And if it's not the response they like, or if it becomes a negative effect on this basketball team, then you have to sit him. And that's
him traveling is probably a good sign.
Also from what we heard, how he responded on the bench, how he was cheering on his teammates, how he was interacting. He was engaged. He wasn't sitting at the end of the bench, head in a towel, pouting. He was cheering on his teammates. He was engaged. I get it. We don't know the whole story. We've heard bits and pieces. We've heard things that, unless I could confirm it, I wouldn't want to talk about. One would be more disturbing than the other. One would look like you're quitting on your teammates. If there was a verbal back and forth out of passion, that tells me that the guy's like, look, I sat the last 12 minutes against Vanderbilt. We were down 10, and I can help us win. that pisses me off. Why wasn't I playing? I get that. You still can't be insubordinate to your coach, but that's a passion. I want to win. I need to be out there thing. Why are you doing this to me? That's a competitive fire thing. So we just need to know exactly, confirm exactly what the situation is to understand. The fact that he was brought to Fayetteville makes it seem a little bit more encouraging to me, because I think if it was that bad, they would have left him at home. Remember, people fought on a plane last year and they were left at home at some point during the season, right? So I don't know if it's such a bad thing that they didn't think it warranted him staying back in Auburn, and he seemed to be engaged on the bench.
Yeah, hopefully it works out. So, folks asking about baseball. Lindsay and I are just minutes away from recording a baseball show once Dapp and I get done with this live, and that'll go up tomorrow morning. And so we'll obviously talk about the doubleheader today, the Chris Rimbert news, and all of that tomorrow morning. So, Lindsay, just got a text from Lindsay. He just got home from the ballpark, so that should be some pretty good, fresh intel from him. So that'll be here tomorrow morning as Auburn baseball starts 3-0 with a sweep, which is great. So, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Wednesdays and Fridays, normally with you on Locked On Auburn, where we talked a variety of issues, and then obviously our lives.
Yep. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.